This afternoon, we are very pleased to have a sought-after speaker, trainer, and performance coach, Gary Hernbroth. Gary's the Chief Motivating Officer at Training for Winners. Gary has spent 18 years in the hospitality industry, both in sales and ops, prior to launching Training for Winners in 1995. He's got great experience in lodging, including 11 years as a director of sales for the San Francisco Renaissance Park 55 Hotel and various sales and operation roles for Fairmont Hotels and Resorts and Westin Hotels. Gary now works with an A-list of hospitality clients to help them master difficult market challenges. Please join me in welcoming Gary Hernbroth.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. So, a couple hotel veterans walk out of a bar. Well, it could happen. There's an old rule in show business that says never follow children or precede alcohol. Well, I'm not following any children, but I figured, how do I take care of that other problem? So I've asked, and the group has been delighted enough to accommodate me that there will be no alcohol at the reception following my session, unless you're actually in it. So I'm going to need your, no, let me retrace that. I'm going to want you to help each other in this session. Is that a deal? Okay. You guys have seen some very, very enlightening information today, but I promise you one thing about this session. There'll be no charts and graphs. Right, so we're just going to go with it. We're going to throw into it. I may make some of you joyful. I may make some of you very excited. I may get under the skin of a few others. I may make you feel uncomfortable, but that's what I do. I'm not always a disruptor, but I enjoy it when they especially ask me to be a disruptor. It's kind of fun to do that because we all know that our industry is not perfect, right? What is, right? Okay, so let's jump into a couple things here. And I want to thank the, are we on, guys? Hey, crew, hey, crew. I want to thank the association for having me back. I last spoke in front of the association in Pasco. Who was in Pasco? I know most of you, from the looks of you, were in about 6th grade. But who was in Pasco? Wow, one hand, couple hands? Look at the change in industry. Look at the turn in industry. Just in, 10, 12 years. Unbelievable. So let's take a look at where we are right now. Does this tell the whole story? I pulled this out of the news just a week ago, less than a week ago, and it's on Hotel Lodging and Smart Brief that claims the 2016 Bond Loyalty Report shows that hotel loyalty programs pay off, bringing customers back. And I read that and I said, okay, if we take that on its surface, I guess that sounds pretty cool. But I know as a traveler myself, and I do travel enough, that there's no loyalty program that ever brings me back unless there's something else to the equation. I believe a loyalty program is what snags somebody. The coming back part is whose job? Anybody? Just scream it out. Yeah, what? Whose job? Yeah, yours. And everybody else who you represent in this building and who's not here, right? I had one nice young lady ask me about the session a few minutes ago. She said, well, is this sales versus operations? And I said, no, not versus. We're going to change that word around. So I'd like to know who I have in front of me, if you mind. I'm going to do a little market research here, audience research. How many people primarily do sales for a living in this industry? Okay, how many of you do operations? Oh, a lot more ops. Okay, sales, you're surrounded here. And how many do probably both because they're the chief cook and bottle washer at their place? A lot of hands. Okay, I knew that was coming. All right, so this should be a fairly gregarious group. And in all my years of speaking, I've never met a group that is actually more deserving of the help I'm about to give. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about the problem, not problem, but opportunities we have. Because no matter about the loyalty program, I believe it's people first. If you take care of that guest in room 939 at your hotel, the loyalty program is icing on the cake. Is that too naive a view? I don't know. Have you ever heard anybody say, I hate that hotel. The service is lousy, the beds are lumpy, the TV doesn't work, never get room service on time. but they have a wonderful loyalty program. That's a tough sell. So you've got to have everything working together. People do business with people because they choose to, not because they have to in most cases. We can always find others doing the same thing or selling the same product. It's the personal connection that makes the difference. And we can probably, I'd like to add to this, is we can probably find others who will do it for less. Someone can always undercut you, right? Okay. Let's start with a biggie question. I call this a biggie because everything we're going to talk about this morning, everything that I'm going to talk about here has one primary foundation to it. Are we and am I easy to do business with? It's a very simple math equation. It's one you can easily, it's even easier than 2 + 2 is 4. It's a very simple question to ask yourself and ask your teams when you get back to work the next couple days. It's easy to ask. No, I didn't say it's easy to answer, okay? What does it mean to be, am I easy to do business with? What do you think that means? Anybody? Throw it out. What? Hassle-free. Okay, hassle-free. We don't want to be hassled as consumers, do we? We certainly don't want to hassle our guests. The idea of being easy to do business with is the big picture stuff, but a lot of little picture stuff. Does the left arm know what the right arm's doing in our hotels and our facilities? By the way, do we have any non-hotel people in the audience? A few? Okay, try to relate my comments then to your own facility because this goes on everywhere, okay? I like to use cartoons to tell the story, and this one in particular with Dilbert. I think this goes on a lot more than we want to say. But nothing that the previous speaker spoke about today and nothing I'm going to tell you now or share with you now, and probably anything you're going to share with each other in a few minutes, is going to work unless you first ask this question and come up with an answer. And it's okay to come up with an answer you're not comfortable with because that means there's work to do, which is a cool thing, right? Nobody in this room is perfect. I'm not perfect. Okay? Still have a lot to learn. Still have a lot to learn. I enjoy it that way. I learn from every audience. So being easy to do business with starts with me, because I can control me. I can influence others, but I can control me, right? So I have to be able to answer phones on a timely basis. I've got to be able to respond to customers. I've got to write simple and readable and understandable emails. I have many people tell me, well, Gary, we email each other all the time. We're cool at that. I look at the emails they send. I said, who can understand this? You have to read them 4 times before you know what they're writing. Or they write paragraphs, 32 sentences long with no punctuation and grammar included. That's hard on the eyes. That's not easy to do business with. Thank you. I thought it was funny too. That's why I said something about it. The we part, the we, is your own team. So let's say we have directors of sales and marketing out there. Your we is your sales team. And then you got the housekeeping team and the front office team and the security team and the engineer team. If all of those plates start spinning, better. Do you not get some lift? If all of the departments in your facility are doing well, do you not get some lift? Does that not translate to those wonderful numbers the gentleman from this morning put up there? Because that's what's behind the numbers. Take a look around you, folks. We're not made of statistics. We're made of blood and guts and sinew and emotions. We're the ones that are going to pull it off. And when we pull it off, the guys this morning put the stats on the wall. But they're just stats. We've got to make it happen. You have to help your teams make it happen, right? You've got to inspire somebody. So I want you to go back to your teams in a couple days, and I want them to say, what the heck happened to you? Where did you go? What did they tell you? Instigate some disruption. And that disruption could be a good thing. And if you tell me, well, Gary, my team's doing fine, I don't really know about all this disruption stuff. We're doing pretty good. Is pretty good good enough? Is your competition waiting for you to do just pretty good? Because if you're doing pretty good and they do better than pretty good, guess what they're doing? They're kicking your butt. They're going to kick your butt. Okay? So what is pretty good? So if we're spinning all these plates and we get lift, who's heard the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats? Who's heard that one, right? I love bumper stickers for what they are. I mean, they're nice, they're memorable. But when I hear a bumper sticker that has holes in it, I go, okay, time out, let's have a reality check. Yes, a rising tide lifts all boats, but the more I thought about it, I thought of one thing. And it happened when we had a high tide hit down in the Santa Cruz area in Northern California. Some of the boats didn't rise with the high tide because they had holes in them. If your hole has a boat, folks, if your team has holes, it's not going to rise with the tide. Having a fantastic sales team or fantastic front desk, if you have a dysfunctional housekeeping team, it's not going to make your housekeeping team great. Rising tide lifts all boats if the boats are ready to lift, if they're seamless. And isn't that what customers really want? Seamless. Oh, the internet's not working. Well, you have to call them. Then they transfer you. They say, I don't know why they sent you down here. You have to talk to them. Talk to them, get transferred again. 3, 4 calls later, no one in the hotel can figure out why the internet's not working. But they're very pleased to help you. And by the way, this call may be recorded for quality customer care assistance. I said, well, good. If you're recording this, it's 4 fails. Let's just try to stay out of our own way sometimes in this business. These are real photos. Can you picture the scene at the elevator bank? And I'd also like to know what it means to say, take the elevator in your left hand. Do you reach out and grab it and try to, I don't get that. The other picture is the one I took, traveling with my family. And my sons and I laughed about the sign. I remember my younger son particularly. He laughed about it when he was 8. He laughed about it when he was 9. He laughed about it when he was 10. He laughed about it when he was 11. We went to the same place every year for the summer, a couple days, get away. The frickin' sign was there 5 years. How many operations people cleaned the deck of that pool? How many shifts? Those of you who are in operations, anybody got a pool? How many times is your pool cleaned? Twice a day, 365 days a year. Somebody do the math. 780 shifts. How many people are on a shift? A lot? Give me a number. 10. 780 shifts times 10 is what? 7,800, and they each have 2 pair of eyes. So now we're talking about well over 16,000 eyeballs in a couple of years looking at that sign going, nobody noticed. Oh, salespeople, you're not getting out of this free either. Because here's a salesperson doing the site inspection. Oh, yeah, we got a pool area over here, and, we just keep the furniture clean, and, we got the pool's here, and we could do a nice reception out here, like opening, like we had last night. That was a great reception, by the way. But I doubt this sign was here. It wasn't. It was somewhere else. How many salespeople walk past that sign on a site inspection that did not go to somebody in the ops department and go, excuse me, you might want to change the sign at the pool because it says keep furniture 4 feet away from the poo? Now, maybe they were all in on the joke. I don't know. But I know guests noticed it, right? And here's the thing about signs like this. Some people will laugh at them and go, oh, that's so funny, like my son. But I knew he was destined for great things because when he was 9, he asked me, Dad, didn't we see the sign here last year? Yes, son, we did. Well, why is it still here? Out of the mouths of children. Well, I don't know, son. Either somebody wants it there or they didn't notice it yet. Well, why don't they talk to each other here? I thought, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Why aren't they talking to each other? And the other thing about something like this is guests wonder, if you're missing stuff that so many people see all the time, what else are you missing? In my room. On my plate that I'm eating the food. What else are you missing? It sends. Now, I'm not saying that someone's going to pull out of their loyalty program because of this, but they might be on the lookout for other little things. Plus, it is kind of funny. So let's get out of our own way. Okay? I think that if you take that back and have some fun with it, you'll find that a lot of things we do in the hotel business, we get in our own way. Now, go with me on a short journey. I want to show you a few more. Because I consider, those of you, any owner, operators, owners reps here? Okay, excuse me. You know all about acquisition and retention, right? I want to talk about acquisition and retention of market share. So every business, no matter what business you're in, and this is for all you exhibitors back there that are with us, but you're not really here. Every business has two primary functions: black and white, cut and dry, live or die. To acquire new customers, wait for it, and to retain your customers. The better job you do of acquiring new customers and retaining those customers, the better job you'll be in business. Can you do one without the other? The answer is yes, for a while. Salespeople can go out and get them. I call them the get 'ems and keep 'ems. Those are my terms. Get 'ems. Get them in. Get the companies to come in. Get the planners to sign the contracts. Bring the groups in. You could get them in. But if the retention team or the keep 'ems don't do a good job at retaining, the get 'ems job gets a lot harder. Would you agree? Doors start slamming in their face. Emails go unanswered. They see him coming up at a trade show, they go the other way, they don't want to talk to him. Now, the other is true also. If I have a great retention team that's ready and willing and able, and they're rock stars, but my sales team's not that good, then there's not enough new blood coming into the pipeline, and then we will thus also die. So do you see where both sides need each other? Thus, this session here. Both sides need each other. It's not a versus thing, it's a with thing. And both sides can work a heck of a lot better. When I left college and I came out, my first posting after college at Michigan State, 6-1, was at the Westin St. Francis, San Francisco. Beautiful hotel, 1,200 rooms. It was a big kahuna. And I wanted to train at a big kahuna hotel. So 1,200 rooms. And we had this, this thing that was sales and operations. And it was basically, I'm not going to say it was beat into my head, but there was enough of a tonality about it to know that we're us and they're them. I said, where's that come from? Well, it's always been that way. Really? Yes. And go back to as far as when knights were jousting. It's always been sales versus operations. Oh, okay. Till you evolve in your career and you find out it really doesn't have to be that way. But how many people have grown up in the business in the early days where really sales and ops really did not work in concert with each other all that well? By design or by anything else? Yes, I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. Okay. The rest of you may not want to admit it. I don't know. But it doesn't have to be that way, does it? Who would agree with that one? It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, good. Now, the best way to make sure that you don't work together is to have silos. So build up really sturdy silos and you'll make sure that nobody works together. What do silos do? Anybody here from the ag business? Silos do two things pretty well. Their reason for being. What's the silo's reason for being? They keep things in and they keep things out. Right? Isn't that the way we want it in our business? We do our thing, right? We don't want a dog coming peeing on our lawn. We'll do our thing, you do your thing. Doesn't work in the hotel business. Works in very few businesses. That picture you see there is a real picture, not a staged picture, from a hotel GM friend of mine that sent me this picture, and I said, I've got to have this. He sent it to me as a joke doing something else. I said, no, you've got to send me that picture. I can use this thing. It's what happens when the HR department, which bought the hotel holiday trimmings to dress up the hotel during the holidays, because they don't know what other department should really do that, so they just decided to give it to HR, does not check with anybody that's actually got to put the Christmas tree up or measure it. We don't want to measure it. Let's not measure it. Can we just make sure the tree we're buying fits in the hotel? So these are two engineers, erstwhile tree movers, trying to jam that tree up the, whatever the side of that thing is, to get it up the stairs so maybe it'll fit in the lobby. Reminiscent of the Clark Griswold movie, right? Grabs the electric blade and just hacks off what doesn't fit. That's a true story. It's not staged. That's what happens when silos happen. One department not talking to another department, and you've got people who have some tasks to fulfill, and they're left on their own to figure it out. Well, that's a lot to ask somebody like that. Does this happen in your organization, your hotel? Good thing it didn't happen to us. Look at that. Our boat's leaking, but thankfully not on our end. That ever happened, metaphorically, at your place? His fault, her fault, your fault, not my fault. Whose fault? Somebody else's fault. But if all hands were on deck, what would happen to those two people at the high top of the boat? They'd be pitching in. I know people, let's take the four, divide them into two. I know people at both ends of the boat, don't you? I know the people who will pitch in and try to save the whole boat because that's what they do. They believe it's the right thing. They're hard workers. They know that they will literally die if this boat isn't saved. I also know people that are perfectly happy to watch other people do the heavy lifting. I don't know what they think is going to happen when the water gets to their end, though. Usually it's an beep minute, an epiphany of sorts. I thought this is a good metaphor for why two sides need to work together. If you've got a dysfunctional part of your hotel, whether it's in communication or some of the other areas I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, you can't just let that department or that area or that team sink. You've got to pitch in and help each other. Now, what does that mean? I've been in enough hotel meetings to know this. You can't have such an ego that is out of reach of anybody that they can't have any good ideas about your team. Now, I was hired to do some work for a resort back east. They asked me to attend the weekly managers meeting. I said, great. They said, whatever observations you're going to make, Gary, just be a fly on the wall, just do them. What I saw ensue was this. Sales had booked a group that had a speaker that had requested to do their presentation sitting on the bar stool in the middle of the stage, like a kind of comedian would or something, but a bar stool. They wanted to sit in a bar stool was their shtick. Well, some, I thought, pretty creative thinking salesperson went up to the bar of the hotel that morning, which was not open, by the way, doesn't open till the evening, and took a bar stool from the bar and walked it down under his arm to the stage in the conference center underneath the hotel, and the presenter did their session. Oh, Mr. Food and Beverage didn't like that. Mr. Food and Beverage had to say that at a manager's meeting. How dare sales come up to our bar and liberate a chair whenever the hell they felt like doing it. I know, some of you are going, oh my God. Folks, I don't have to make this up. It follows me, trust me. Guess how long they talked about the protocols of this? At least 45 minutes. Now remember, I'm supposed to sit, I can't, I thought GM, whatever, they all discussed this. Well, when we need it, we're going to get it, and we have to make it. It should have been on the BO. The BO should have been out 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks to move a freaking bar stool. It was ridiculous. And you know what? It made me embarrassed to be in this business. And I haven't felt like that much. But once in a while, no, that's pretty hard for me to say, being that I've grown up in it. I got my degree in it. I work in it. It feeds me, pays my bills. But I was embarrassed to be in this business. Another friend of mine who used to work in the West Coast said he was also at a meeting when he heard this story. He said, Gary, we talked about whether or not people can have body piercings for a good hour and a half at a meeting once. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Shift happens. For those of you in the back who can't see the slide very well, there is a tiny little F in there that just keeps me politically correct. Shift happens in hotels, right? Who's been there when shift happens in hotels? Who's had shift happen to them? The rest of you are lying. You don't live that perfect lives. Get over it. I know you're not all that perfect. We've all had shift happen, whether it's home, work, business, play, golf course, whatever. Let's just not put a VIP in that room for a site inspection. I've done enough customer advisory groups to say that I always say, well, can you tell us about a memorable fam trip that you went on? And they start laughing. And I always say, what's so funny? Because, Gary, we don't have enough time in the week to tell you all the stories from our fam trips of what hotels have actually thought that they were doing well to show us or what we experienced. Really? Obviously, this might be an exaggeration. It's a real picture. But the point I'm trying to make is, how well do your hotel teams overcome when shift happens? That's got to be a critical core competency of your hotels. You got to write that down. Core competency of our hotels, one of them's got to be, what do we do? How do we bounce back off the floor when we get knocked down, to use a boxing analogy, when a shift happens? Okay? Now, unfortunately, in our business right now, we have to face a lot of realities about really, really bad shift happening. We'll save that for another seminar. But we're just in that kind of business where the public comes into our buildings and we've got shift happening. I'm just talking about the other little things. Light bulbs going out, and things being tripped, and fire alarms, and all that kind of stuff. Bozoisms. Anybody else grow up near Detroit? Couple? Anybody? We had a TV show called Bozo the Clown. Anybody remember Bozo the Clown? You remember. I just came up with this term one day sitting there at a hotel going, I got to call this something. Bozo the Clown came to mind. These are the things that employees don't really think they're saying that are wrong, but they really come out that way. I don't know. They sent you here? Who said that? You want to win? That's not my job. It's the hotel policy. God has spoken. It's the hotel policy. We've all heard these. The last one I heard about 6 months ago at a hotel that does those little GM receptions each day. I saw the guy earlier. He picked me up at my appointment in downtown and was my shuttle driver. So I just happened to make the casual conversation when I ran into him down at the reception half an hour later. I said, dude, you do this too? He goes, oh, sir, you've got it right here. I do it all. I drive the shuttle, I unclog toilets, and then I come down here and I cook on the grill. And I said, in that order? He goes, yes. I said, I wouldn't tell anybody that. I looked around, made sure no other guests were hearing that. I didn't really eat what he put on my plate. It was creepy. Now, he didn't intend, look, he's not a bad guy. He's not a bad employee. He shouldn't be fired. But how well do you know what your employees are saying when guests say things back to them or when they're asked questions? And there's a million of them. Folks, I could have 12,000 slides of these things. You probably could have enough of your own. I want everybody to think of a couple right now when you talk to your table mates here in a few minutes. What kind of bozoisms do you hear? Guy comes down from the hotel once. GM friend told me this. He says, you know, I like to get a morning swim in. You've got a rooftop pool in your hotel. I've been staying here for years, but something's changed. I can't swim in your rooftop pool anymore. It's too cold. Now, I don't know what you would have your employees say, but I bet you it's not this. Well, sir, that's because our general manager is too cheap to turn the heat on in the pool at this time of year. And my GM friend said, Gary, I was, doing something else. He lived in the hotel. He says, I was probably in the shower or sleeping or getting up or something for the morning shift, not knowing that one of my employees was saying something so weirdly stupid to a guest. Now, you're not going to be able to always control what everybody says. That's humanly impossible. But when's the last time you tried to at least give them some good answers about things? But what do we do in this business, sales and operations? We get new people. We throw a uniform on them that doesn't fit, right? Oh, you look good in that. Just don't put it in the dryer. Okay, we get them a name badge. Hopefully the name's spelled correctly. And we go, here, get out on the shift. Now, there's Sally and there's John. They're our veterans of the team. They've been here a year and a half. So they've been here the longest time. They know what they're doing. They'll train you. And that's their onboarding. So, of course, I don't know what to say when a guest says to me, sir, this prime rib's pretty well done. Yeah, we hear that a lot. I check into hotels. I ask these little things once in a while just to see what they'll say. I'll say, you guys busy? No, sir, we're dead. Really? Makes me want to stay here. Do I look like Jack Nicholson? The Shining? No, we're dead. Oh, are you slow season? We kind of had a whole dead summer. The whole summer was dead. Really? Yeah, had to pick up another job. It's dead. It's really dead. I go, oh, so am I going to have trouble getting a burger down at the sports bar? He goes, what time is it? They might be open. You can call. Bellman doesn't know what time the sports bar is. Oh, you could call. Really, I could call. Okay. Folks, think about that, okay? Sales and operations working better together. Sales, you guys are the silver-tongued sleuths. You know, help operations with what you'd like to have them to say. And operations, give sales the real deal so they're not spewing out other stuff. I had trouble with the TV in one part of my room, my double suite room thing. This is the response I got. Yeah, we've heard that some of the TVs in the bedrooms don't have the same channels as the ones in the parlor. Our cable company hasn't been out to fix them yet. Okay. So channel 14 in my parlor is a news channel, and channel 14 in my bedroom is ESPN. So I take both remotes and I do what with them? I go to the channel guide, and that's no help because the channel guide is the same in both rooms. So it's guess what channel you want. In the wall, there's a big spin wheel. So when you want to watch a channel, you just spin the wheel and wait till it comes around and around and around. That's the channel you're going to watch. Might as well be. What do you mean your cable company hasn't been out to fix them yet? That room was $295 a night. I got 2 TVs. One didn't have a picture. Now, some of you may like to watch that, I'm not sure. Not really compelling for me. Here's one. Limited service. Who's in a limited service hotel? Here's my memo to our industry. Limited service is actually a category of a hotel. Would you agree? It's a category. Limited service hotels. Maybe they were up there today in some of the charts and graphs. Limited service hotels. I think I saw it up there. But what that doesn't mean to me is that it's got to be the customer service orientation. Like limited service. Can you hear this one? Well, what's limited service? Well, sir, we're so limited here. You've got 2 bags. We'll take one of them to your room. Limited service. You're here 2 nights. You want to wake up call both days? We'll hit it right on one day. Limited service. Grab a pen there. Sign in. 50-50 on one of them working. You ever done that when you check into the hotel and you keep rubbing it? And, yeah. I actually went to a hotel once with a brand on it. And guess what they had in the pen thing? The brand across the street's pen. I went, oh, this is great. Am I in the wrong place? No, sir, somebody probably put that there. And they left it there. They left it in the thing. I thought they'd go, oh, give me that, give me that, give me that. You didn't see that. They left it there. Oh, I should have put that on a slide. So I tootled down. I got a little night, what do you call it, sweet tooth or something or whatever. And you see what awaits me. Now, I will tell you something. This is not a hotel 75 miles from Neptune. This is a corporate hotel in the middle of a big city which does about 90% corporate business during the week. Now, you might say, well, Gary, then that might explain why it's empty. No, you might explain to me why I got the response I did. So I asked the question, that's the response in yellow. Why is the pantry so empty? There's nothing. Well, no one's been able to go to Target for a while. That's not a good answer, but the next one wasn't any better. I said, and you know it was coming here, right? Because you all know me now for 40 minutes. I said, where's the Target? Across the street. I said, would you like me to go and get the stuff for you? You could give me a petty cash thing? Oh, no, sir. We'll get to it, sir, one of these days. 95%. Now, take a look at a couple things. You got late night snacks, so you can't eat Tide and you can't eat whatever that is. They got 4 bags of potato chips. They got a lot of Bayer aspirin. You want aspirin at night? You can have all those you want. About 2 boxes of Skittles. The box of Slim Jims is kind of laying on its end, but I'm thinking there's 2 or 3 Slim Jims. And then they've got ophthalmic solution, some kind of lotion, and other kind of bodily lotion, whatever. So that's about your choice at night. So I went on their website, just thought I'd have some fun with it. Oh, fully stocked. You know what it's going to say. Sales, note to the file. Here we've got obviously lean pockets, but they put, I like this. Now they are creative. Somebody was thinking. Notice where the boxes are? In the front. So it looks like there's a lot in there. There's only one. It's one deep. I make my point. Number one, it's not good. the way it's stacked. But number two, the Bozoisms that flowed from this are too funny to even think that they really happened, but they did happen. No one's been to Target in a while. Now, I am personally able to vouch for that front desk that I at least saw on several occasions coming and going from my appointments that week, little clumps of employees standing at the desk chit-chatting about football, about the kids, about their days off. They had time to go to Target. That's not me, but it could be. Anybody ever feel like that at a front desk? I worked the front desk for like a year and a half, so I get this. I asked for change for 20. Again, downtown hotel, Metropolitan Hotel, not out in, Strawberry Fields somewhere. The young lady says to me, very bright, nice young lady, but again, what came out of her mouth was not intended to sound like it the way it is, but how does it sound to you? They won't give me a bank out here. What does that say to you? Anybody jump into the thing of like trust? So do they not trust you, or should I not trust you? They, hotel policy, they will not give me a bank out here. I said, oh, that's a shame. Why not? I said, well, gee, where do you, I said some kind of like little comeback like, well, it's been a long time since I worked the front desk, but they used to give us banks of like $3,000 at St. Francis, pretty busy place. We had to count it every night. I remember that. I'm $1 short, honey. I'll be home in an hour. I got to find $1. Anybody ever been a cashier? Yeah. Where's $1? Oh, there's the guy next to me. I'm $1 short. Too bad, buddy. No, it was a pain in the you-know-what. And we washed our money. Anybody been to St. Francis? We used to wash our money, right? Washed our money. If you ever gave out a bill that was crunkled, taped, folded on the end, you were fired. And we gave out washed money. How good is that? Anyway, some things are timeless. So I said, well, what do you suggest I do? Because I have to tip the doorman. I got to tip the guy getting me a cab. All I got is a 20. And she says, you see that across the lobby there? I went like this. She says, you see that Starbucks there? They'll make change. I looked at the Starbucks. It's 8:15 in the morning. Has anybody in this room ever been to a Starbucks at 8:15 in the morning? Could I hear an over-under of the people in line at Starbucks? It's a very popular place. So let's hear a number. Somebody throw it out. 30. That's a good number. We'll start with that one. I think that day there were probably 30 people in line. And she could see it because it was across the lobby, but that's what she was sending me for my change for $20. Because the hotel management wouldn't give her a bank. We don't want those people to have banks. They'll hand keys out to people that could do anything in the room they want, but we can't give them a bank. Sales and operations, working in sync, get 'ems and keep 'ems. What are we doing? Remember that slide a few slides ago? Let's get out of our own way. This is the get out of our own way part. So, we will end this section with this one. This was actually during one of my training seminars at a hotel. I had a CPA firm I was doing some training with. Exact conversation. We were supposed to have notepads at each setting. Could we get some, please? We have 20 people. They show up with the 4 you're looking at right there with that response word for word. Here you go. Will this be enough? Where do you take a conversation like that? Where do you go with that? I asked for 20, roll tape. I asked for 20. You brought 4. Loaves and fishes, fishes and loaves. I said, either you're going to make me the speaker that enabled 20 people to write on stuff when you only had tools for 4, and then I get maybe talked about in loaves and fishes, or you're going to help me out here, right? Folks, let's get out of our own way. If you had the temerity to go and get the 4 that should have been set up anyway, and you grabbed 4, why wouldn't you grab the 20 that I asked for? Are you trying to save the hotel 16 cents? Can I hear an ops person tell me how much a pad of paper is, please? Cost. Come on, ops. How much? 16. Thank you. That man does get alcohol after this session. You do get alcohol, sir. You tell him Gary sent you. They won't know who the hell I am, but just tell him I sent you. 16 cents. Let's not give 20 out. Those things are expensive because somebody said they were expensive. I've actually had salespeople tell me in the days when we used to have brochures and things like that, meeting planner kits, now don't send out too many meeting planner kits because they're really expensive. So what do you want me to do with them? Well, they're in the closet. Oh, they're beautiful in the closet. They look beautiful. Well, the director of marketing, vice president of marketing says they're really expensive. They're high glossy. They come in a little folder. They really look nice. But don't send too many out because they're really expensive. We don't want too many customers to see them. Let's get out of our own way. What value do you salespeople, you operations managers and leaders, and those of you that do both, what value do you put in your own hotels on what I call the 3 C's? Because this is where I really think the rubber meets the road in the hotels. Creativity, critical thinking, and common sense in your hotel. You know why? Because that's what I relied on. I didn't get the best training either. A lot of the stuff we made up as we went, but we were creatures of nature. We were, you ever heard the necessity is a mother of invention? We were, necessity is a mother of invention. You're on a shift, a graveyard shift in the middle of wacky San Francisco on a night where, it's 11 to 7 and you don't have a manual for everything that comes through that door, folks, and you have to make it up as you go. But I had a boss who said one thing to me, Gary, I trust you. I know you're never going to do harm to the hotel. Just make the best decision that you can at the time. We'll evaluate it the next day. Who knows? Maybe we even have a new procedure come out of it. But I got your back. So I knew I could screw up, but I wasn't going to be fired for it. That person didn't know it at the time, and neither did I, but I call that enabling me to think like an owner. As if my family name was on the hotel. Hernbroth Hotel. And I was a Hernbroth. And my name was on that hotel. I think creativity, critical thinking, and common sense are key for you and your team to have as job one. So here's the next thing you could take back, because I promised you takeaway tools. So you're going to evaluate your team on the 3 C's. I next would like you to evaluate your team and then thus your organization in 2 more critical areas. Call out your inhibitors and call out your enablers and see where they line up. So this is very simple. You get a piece of paper, you draw a T through it. On one line, you put, what are the enablers? Now, the enablers are the green line, the 3-in-1 oil. Those are the things that enable us to do great service with guests. Those are the things we really do well, and we want to look at how we can do more of those things well. How can we do more good things? Nothing's in our way. That's really good. She's our best employee on that shift. How can we make it better? The inhibitors, again, are a little tougher conversation, because that's the downward red arrow, the one with the brick wall. These are like the black hole of communication. Every hotel has a black hole of communication, right? Did you guys see the memo the GM put out last week? All the hands went up except the restaurant. Restaurant never seems to see the memos. Where'd the memo go? I don't know. Did you guys read it? I think it went into my spam. Really? Because everybody else saw it. What are the inhibitors? And maybe they're physical. They could be bad software, bad something, whatever. Bad kitchen setup, I don't know what it is. But put down your enablers and inhibitors and say, what is enabling us to work as a seamless unit, sales and operations together? And then what's inhibiting us? Do we meet enough together? Operations people, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you go to or are invited to go to sales meetings? How many of you, let me ask it, I'm sorry. How many of you are invited to go? A few hands. How many go? How many of you would like to be invited to go? Why? What do you think they're talking about in there? It's important, isn't it? Salespeople, how many of you are invited to go to operations meetings? Couple? Good, I like that. I don't know who your point person is at a hotel, but I applaud them. Oh, then congratulations, ma'am. That's forward thinker right there. You're disruptive. You're disruptive. And I want you to right now be in this session. Okay. Who would like to be invited to that meeting? Yeah. Well, if you don't want to be, folks, then you're shutting down because you don't want to talk to anybody or learn anything else new. Left hand should know what the right hand's doing. Enablers help us do business. Inhibitors hold us back. Enablers are the green. Inhibitors are the red. If you don't identify them and call out your dragons once in a while, folks, guess what happens to your little baby dragons? Your little baby dragons grow up to be what? Big dragons, and big dragons eat people. And people don't come back when they're eaten. They go somewhere else. So you don't want the big dragons to scare away your people. Okay, here's my hit list. I start with this. We're going to get you guys talking about this. Think like an owner. I mentioned that already, right? As if their name is on the door. Can they make decisions? Are they empowered? They first must figure out where in the big picture they are. You have to give them the latitude to make decisions, and be careful with that because that's responsibility, and then you can't, you've got to have an honest conversation if they make the wrong decision, but you should be able to set them parameters first. Now, don't be surprised if some people don't want that responsibility. Not everybody was built to carry responsibility. They don't want it. They'll defer it any chance they get. But most of your people at least want the responsibility because you're not there. How many of you people right here in front of me are in your hotel every night at 3 a.m.? Okay, I didn't see a hand. How many of you are 100% sure what your people are doing and saying to the guest in room 939 every night at your hotel? Nobody. I knew that answer before I asked it. But that proves a point, doesn't it? You can't control what's going on at 3 a.m. You can influence it. And the better you do this during the day, the better the influence you'll have at night. Number 2, accountability. Everybody's accountable. I was asked recently by a writer who was writing an article on trends and things. And he said, Gary, what's the top trend that you see we need help in? And I'll say, I'll give you the top trend that most of my clients ask me to integrate into my training. And you know what it is? That one right there. People's lack of wanting to take accountability. The lack of accountability is killing a lot of good businesses, and it's going to kill a good customer service and guest program if people don't take accountability for their actions. Doesn't mean you kill somebody over it, but you hold them accountable. Because if you hold one team accountable and another team gets a free and easy pass, that doesn't work, right? And this especially is true in sales and operations, because what do many operations people think the salespeople do for a living? You want to get, oh wait, you want me to shoot now or should we get the beverage card? It's on me, I'm on an expense account. Let me get the beverage, let me hit first and I'll get the beverage card for you there, dear. Some operations people think that all salespeople do is play golf, comp people food, go on wonderful, glorious trips to Peoria in the middle of February, stand at trade shows till their ankles bleed. And some of that we do, right? But it's not glamorous. I always tell operations people, it's not all that glamorous to get the door shoved in your face or told no 1,000 times a week. It's tough. The expectations are high on sales. I've worked both, so I can speak both. And I think sometimes the operations people, they're forgotten too about the good jobs they do in the trenches. Because salespeople, you can weave all the dreams you want. I learned this years ago at my second hotel stop. Sales can weave all the dreams. They're the dream weavers. And then operations people have to deal with the nightmares. Not always have to be true, but it comes with it. Accountability. Communication. Without it, you're dead. You know that. We don't have time to make this a big communication thing, but I'd be remiss if I didn't have it on the list. If you can't communicate with each other and communicate effectively with each other, forget about it. I had a hotel GM tell me, Gary, I am so ripped up about this. So we started a program, and I found out he had no communication protocols in his hotel. There were no protocols for responding to people, how many days you get back to somebody. People were going on vacation, not getting back. He says, time out. We're a mess. He started, at my suggestion, to institute no email Fridays. He wanted people to get up off their rear ends and walk 15 feet to that other person's office where they were and actually do what? Have a conversation. A quick conversation, which took less time than it would have been to text each other back and forth 10 times. No email Fridays. He loved it. And you know what his team did initially? Kind of nice. And pretty soon they started to like it. So sooner or later, they had no email weeks. No email. So it was, sure, you've got to send certain, I get it. You've got a CYA here and there and whatever. But for the most part, if it could be said in person, it was to be said in person. And that improved communication 1,000%. Do we have any convention service managers in the room? I was hoping they'd come to this convention. Anybody who's done convention services? Anybody put out any pre-cons? How many of your pre-cons were read by everybody, sir, that you wanted to read them? And thou liest, sir. Every page, every sentence, right? So again, I said to a GM, I said, why don't you do this? In the second to last paragraph, not the last, but the second to last paragraph of next week's manager's report, minutes, pre-con, whatever you want, he called it, I said, put in there that anyone reading this can come to the GM's office and get a case of wine of their choosing. I said, and you and I will make a bet on how many cases you give out. He said, I'll give out probably 5 or 6. I'll see this. I go, okay. I said, you give out 1. We were both wrong. You didn't give out any. Nobody came to the GM's office for a free case of wine because they didn't read the pre-con. And it proved the point. And boy, do they feel foolish. But you heard excuses. Oh, well, we had a group in-house and... Okay. Collaboration. Everybody pitches in. My hotel had 1 ballroom. We had to turn it over. We cleared out accounting. We cleared out security. We cleared out the res team. And we turned that room around in front of customers and showed them we could do it. Because salespeople like me were promising the customer we could turn that room around in 25 minutes. So you better do it. You got 1 ballroom, you got to learn how to do it. So we kind of went up to all the floors and we cleaned them out. People got up, esprit de corps, camaraderie, because they knew if we didn't do it, we wouldn't have the business. And if we don't have the business, they get what? Laid off. Make sure I finish that sentence right. They get laid off. So that's collaboration. Everybody pitches in. Now, camaraderie, see, collaboration is you can force it. Who's a manager in this room? Yeah, you could force collaboration. You will work with their department when this happens and we will do it, right? You can make it happen. Memo, boom, done. Authority. But camaraderie, you can't memo camaraderie. You can't make people want to pitch in and like it. That's the tougher thing. And just because they're under the same roof, folks, don't say, well, our team, you could have 8 dysfunctional teams within your organization. Okay? And by the way, since when did customers buy any one part of the hotel? Anybody? Again, if you had a lumpy bed and a lousy hotel and lousy housekeeping, but you had a terrific restaurant, would that be enough to drive most of your guests back? If you had a great location on the golf course, but you had your toast was burnt and the eggs were always cold, would that drive people back? So you got to have all this working together. So you try to instill in that little bar there the transaction mentality versus a sales mentality. So are we transacting with our customers and just getting them through? Next, next, next. Or are we actually spending some sales time? And salespeople in the room, you got to love this because they're doing nothing but reinforcing what you're talking about when you're talking to the customers, correct? When you're bragging about your customer service scores, you're really talking about the people at the front desk. Now, here's the weird part. I've had customers tell me, and I've seen it myself, they'll go on a site visit with a salesperson, and the salesperson will be walking by the desk. And some of my savvy meeting planners say, Gary, I can read eyes. They don't know who that salesperson is, and he or she doesn't know who they are behind the desk. Shame. Bad missed opportunity there for some camaraderie. Anybody ever experience that? We'll go to the restaurant or we'll go to lunch and they'll say, hi, I'm so-and-so. Or no, worse than that, let me back up a second. They walk up with their badge and the hostess says, hi, can I help you? Yes, 2 for lunch. Oh, and you are? How often are you in the restaurant then with customers if they don't know who you are at the hostess stand? Who's had that happen? It's embarrassing. Yeah, right? Thank you. It's embarrassing. That means sales isn't getting up often enough to just talk to people and get known around the hotel. I always just tell my salespeople, if you're not known around this hotel, you better get known because I'm going to test it. And operations too. It's a 2-way street. See, too many hotels is like, well, if reservations have had a really busy season, we buy them pizza. How long does that party last? An hour and a half of pizza? Then you all pat each other in the back like a scene out of Office Space. The guy doesn't get the pizza or the cake. Then you don't talk to him the rest of the year. That's not good enough. Not good enough. So, at your tables, I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about this. We've got a cyclone going now. I'm disrupting stuff, okay? I'm challenging you guys. I want to get under your skin here a little bit. How can we disrupt and kick up our games in site inspections with customers? How can we kick up our pre-con meetings? You know my rule number 1 is pre-con meeting? Two rules actually. Come prepared means read the crap before you get there. Number 2, if you can't make it, somebody else should. Somebody else must. Where's your food and beverage department? They're busy today. You couldn't find one rep from food and beverage to show up at pre-con? I once encountered another hotel where the GM says, Gary, I want you to pick out my loser in the group. I want you to come to the pre-con. You'll be able to pick out the loser. I'm not going to tell you who it is. So the meeting planner went around the room, and everybody introduced himself. Hi, I'm director of rooms. I'm director of security. I'm your director of sales. And then came, hi, I'm Joe from accounting, and I'll be fixing all your accounting problems. Is it too late in the day, or do you guys not get how bad that is? I'm Joe from accounting, and I'll be fixing all of your accounting problems? That's the brand statement that he let off with? Do you know how bad that sounds to a meeting planner's ears? And she did ask, what problems am I going to have? And the GM said, that's my loser. I said, you got to change that around. I'm going to fix your accounting. It'd be like sales. Hi, I'm the director of sales. I'll fix all the problems you're going to have in sales. Why don't they just go around the whole table and say, we're going to fix all your problems? Boy, meeting planner's going to run to that hotel, right? Give it a great review. How about your moments of truth? Those are the little things that happen, like I've been talking about here, moments of truth. All those previous slides. Those little bang, bang moments which happen to a guest when they come into your door. And then better ways of working together, service issues or otherwise, okay? So I want you to think about twisting the familiar. It's a term that I came up with years ago when I couldn't find another way to say challenge the status quo. I like this one better anyway. I want you to twist the familiar, okay? Do something different. Think about something different than the way you do it. And the answer or the help may be right at your own table. Hopefully we're mixed up enough. Are you guys mixed up? Well, from my perspective, you're all pretty mixed up, but I don't know about that. No, I'm just kidding. At your tables, I hope that we've got a good mixture of sales and ops, because I'm only going to give you a few minutes here, guys, so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. Now, trust me, 5 minutes is not a lot of time, but get some of these ideas up. I'm going to leave this slide up here, and please share some ideas with each other and come up with some really good stuff. We're going to try to have a microphone go around the room and get a couple of the great things we hear so we can idea share here, okay? I'll give you 5 to 7 minutes max, okay? Go. Okay, here we go. Let's see what you came up with as a table. Let's have a couple of ideas and get some dialogue going. Tony's got the microphone, so give us a second to get to your table. I don't want her to break her leg here. Anybody want to share something? We saw a lot of hand moving. There we go. We got a hand over there, sir. Hold till Tony can get there, please. You are on the surveillance tape, too, so.
I actually stole this from somebody that was at our table, but a lot of times we talk about cross-training, and it's hard to take a front desk agent, put them in housekeeping for a week. You'll probably lose that front desk agent. But make it part of your orientation system that you at least take them to that department on a day to show them what housekeeping does, to show them what the breakfast host does. So they have an idea when a guest has their concerns, and I say concerns because I hate the word complaint, that's what they're dealing with, what those people are doing on a day-to-day basis.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I made a couple GMs mad at me when I hired a new salesperson, and I wouldn't let them even be on the phone or sell for a week. And the GM always got nervous, like, well, we're paying them salary, and they're not selling, and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, boss, just hang on a minute. They'll be a better salesperson when they understand the hotel. And so I had them cross-train all over the hotel. You know, when you're in San Francisco, a lot of customers ask about the earthquake. We worked through the earthquake a couple times. And having them a day in engineering to get all that inside information of how the structure is sound and all that is really helpful in the sales jargon. So I couldn't concur more about that. And not only that, I'll tell you what, I had a twofold purpose of this. Those of you that are writing down this gentleman's point here. Number one was to get them familiar with our hotel. Maybe they worked in another hotel, but this was our hotel. We're different. Everyone's different. But the second thing is, I didn't want the first time that they had to talk to somebody else in the hotel to be a negative time. Like, why did you move my VIP room? Why didn't my VIP get the amenity I ordered for them? Why don't we do this? Why can't I get that table? I wanted them to already have a little bit of backstory with some of these people and have them encounter it. because I knew in operations they did see salespeople, right or wrong, but some of them did see salespeople as sharks, pampered sharks, who got to travel and, like I said, tee it up once in a while and do all those fluffy things. And I wanted them to see them as real people and kind of get in each other's shoes and have an interaction. So then when they did have a hiccup or a shift happen, they've already met each other. They've already talked to each other. They've already been down in the bowels of the hotel to meet with those people and get to know them. So I think that's an excellent idea, and I would definitely make that part of your game plan. Yes?
So a little bit in a similar vein, cycling through employees, whether they're management or otherwise, into the site inspections and the pre-con specifically, and empowering them to share the fresh set of eyes.
Absolutely. Okay, now I'll add to that because that's an excellent point, sir. I like to involve, when I was Director of Sales and Marketing, I like to involve what I call niche professionals. Look, I didn't know the most about wine in that hotel. If I had a customer who is a self-absorbed, self-proclaimed foodie, I asked the Director of Food and Beverage or the wine expert of the hotel to join us for dinner that night or to join us on the site visit or to spend some time talking about those things because I knew I was out of my league. I mean, I knew enough to be dangerous, right? Peanut butter goes on top, jelly goes on the bottom, okay. But I wanted the niche professional, or if you've got a golf property, unless you can really talk the game of golf well and explain the intrinsic things that are involved in getting a golf tournament going, put them in the arms of your head golf pro. Let them do that talking. Let them talk a little. And besides, customers enjoy that. They like feeling to the exalted thing like you've really gone out of your way and you've got me talking to the niche professionals, the people who really matter. And that not only will be more of a specific conversation, but it goes a long way into helping the customer decide one very important thing, salespeople, right? They're not just buying you. They're buying the what? The team. And the more people on that team that they can meet and get to know, the better it is, including your conference service people and everybody like that. So that's definitely great. And you know what else it does to operations people? It makes them feel part of the sales process. I had a hand in bringing that person to the hotel, and I would share that comment back. I would say, you know what? They're bringing their group here, and Mary, they mentioned you specifically as someone they really enjoyed meeting when you're here. Mary just, it was like she sprouted wings and flew. I mean, she was just like, her whole face lit up, like she had a little hand in that. The other thing that I would do in terms of involving operations salespeople, why keep it a secret what the customer's business is worth? I never understood that. If a customer is bringing a group worth $950,000 in revenue, tell the operations team, this is a $950,000 customer, or a $10,000. Not that you're going to treat your small customers any worse, but give it some relativity so they can plug into that. Hey, this is a wedding customer, a $50,000 wedding customer, something like that. It's not a secret to be kept. Share it with them. They'll feel more of the sales process. Is that where you were going with that? Very good. Yes, another one. Another comment over here. We got anything over here in left field? My left field? Yes, sir. Hands up. 2 hands up. Excellent. We'll get to both of you and bring this on home.
We've decided that we're going to have a pre-conference site inspection. We're going to stop, have a cup of coffee, and ask questions about what their objectives are, what their concerns are, what they've liked about other meetings that they've held. Are there other agendas that they're considering, and then we can adjust our site tour to satisfy those needs.
I would also suggest, and this is where I thought you were going, sir, but it may give you an additional idea. I believe in an ounce of prevention is equal 2 pounds of cure, or as I also like to say, measure twice, cut once, is have a pre-meeting with your own team before the customer gets in the room so somebody doesn't out a bozo question. Do you have any on-site food and beverage? Yes, I gave that information to the salesperson. We've got 2 banquets, 2 breakfasts, a lunch and a partridge and a pear tree. And if you'd have known that, and if you'd read that, you'd have known that. So now all of a sudden, what am I thinking about my purchase decision at the hotel? So it might be a good idea to have a little, it doesn't be formal, right? But just a quick little, hey, customers coming in tomorrow, let's ask the right questions, let's ask smart questions, let's get our act together, right? Because it's showtime in this business, right? You guys are in showtime, come on. We're all on stage, everybody, from the housekeeper to you guys. So we got to have our game on when we're on showtime. Great point. Thanks for giving the catalyst to that. Yes.
We actually have a sales program in place with our properties that all departments are involved in.
Excellent.
That's something to keep them on the lookout and in that mindset.
And does that also help, I just want to ask a question, does that also help them get a little revved up when that group actually comes to the hotel?
Yes.
It really does, doesn't it? I mean, it works so much better than, okay, here's a group, and everyone's going to wear a button this week because this is a group, okay? And they don't know what the button means, but they wear the button, and someone says, well, what's that button? I don't know. It's a group in house. I don't know. HR gave this to, I don't know. It gets them revved up, right, about the group coming in, and they want to get it going. I mean, when we had the World Series coming in, I told everybody in the hotel, we got the World Series coming in. I wanted to get excited. And here's the two teams playing in it. Boom and boom. Let's get excited. We put the employees in colors. Let them choose which colors they want to, whatever. Let them have some fun with it. They felt invested in the system. And you know what? Our service scores went up because of that, because we involved them. Yes? Oh, Tony's ready for one more. One more. This center table had a lot of arms waving and heads nodding. And yes? Okay, here's one right here, Tony. This young lady right here.
So I've worked a number of years in both sales and operations, and currently I'm the GM and the director of sales.
Perfect.
So one of the things that we do at our hotel, and one of the things I implemented was I had all of our front desk agents, anybody that has that interaction with the guest, our breakfast bar, I had all of them visualize the hotel as if they were going to be explaining it to a blind person. And what this did was it really introduced the details of the hotel to the people that are not necessarily looking at those details.
That's cool.
It made them speak to the guest like I speak to the guest. It made them, when the guest called up and said, you know, I rented your L Wall 1, can you explain to me what the interior looks like? These people actually knew, and they were proud to talk about it, and they were vested in the property in that sense. So we did that at our property. It's been very successful, and I recommend doing it at yours.
I think that's an excellent point. I'll probably going to now release the alcohol lift from there. Because you mentioned a key word, which is pride. And that's nothing that anybody in this room, I don't care what your title is or how much money you make or how long you've been in the business, you can't memo pride. You can't memo camaraderie, as I mentioned earlier, but you can't memo pride either. And that's just dealing with, helping people feel proud. And they are. Look, they spend most of their lives in your hotel. We spend most of the lives in our hotels, right? I mean, our family gets whatever's left of us, right? And then we sleep a little bit, or not. So, thank you very much for your comments. I'm going to bring it home with a couple key points to kind of recap what we said. Acquisition and retention have got to work in sync. So the get 'ems and the keep 'ems, you got to find a way to talk more. And guess what? For those of you that might come out of this session going, well, I know all this, and we do all this, you can't, because a lot of this stuff is just my own observation, and, it comes here, so I don't know how you would know all this anyway. But don't have your ego in such a place in this industry where you think that, or anybody should think, including myself, that we have all of the answers. Go and lift up under your hood and look a little bit. You might be surprised by what you find. So have an open mind. So the get 'ems and keep 'ems must work in sync. And, go ahead and disrupt your status quo. Twist the familiar. Twist the familiar. Get people involved in it on both sides, operations and sales. And the more they work together, the less they're going to be to cut each other at the knees when something bad goes on, right? And when you really do need all hands on deck, it'll seem like a seamless thing and not, oh my goodness, the sky's falling. Now, with that comes the word change. Kind of a dirty word sometimes to some people, right? I like to say this one, change is good, you go first. That usually puts the conversation at a real chill, doesn't it? You go first. But please, you go first. Now here, I'll leave you with a thought. It's all fine and well to talk about these things at a conference. I know that you guys have busy lives. Name me an industry where people aren't going to go to a conference like this and say they're not busy. There isn't one. But we think we own busy sometimes. Never be too busy to get help. Now take a look at this cartoon, and I think this one says a lot of things. You got two guys. Maybe there's a third there, supervisor looks like in the behind there, who are trying to move a box of rocks with square wheels. And they are having a heck of a time of it. But they're too busy in the moment of doing what they're supposed to be doing to have the person outside go, hey, will one of these help? And the sad thing about it is, I have many customers that say, these are great ideas, Gary, it's wonderful, but we're too busy. I say, yeah, but you've got to stop that 75-mile-an-hour train at the station once in a while. Get off the station, fix this stuff, get back on your train. You're going to be busy again tomorrow. You might as well be busy tomorrow, better off, right? So never be too busy to do this. And I want to thank you for coming because, conferences like this are so important for idea sharing, for seeing each other, kind of validating who we are again, making sure that we feel okay, making sure that we're not alone. Because it's easy to get back to your offices and your hotels and think, is all this just happening to me? Are my peers going through the same thing? And to share these kinds of stories too. And then for the people that aren't here, they're the ones I'm most concerned with. You guys have at least had a chance to hear some of these words and share these tools. I'm most concerned about the people that aren't here today that work with you back there. Because I am now going to take the responsibility of presenting this session off my shoulders and put it on your shoulders to take back and start to put some of these wheels in motion. And I guarantee you that if you do some of these things, and you do them well, and you get some synergy going, that you will not only be disrupting and causing chaos, but it'll be good chaos, good disruption, so that you'll have more people to get and more people to keep. And that's why you're in business. Never forget that. Thank you.